Hi everybody, and welcome to today's video where we are going to be looking at the concept of dividing integers. More specifically, looking at negative numbers and why when we divide a positive by a negative, do we get a negative? And why when we divide a negative by a negative, do we get a positive? And you'll notice today that both questions, they are division questions, but they're written differently. And that is totally okay. This is just another way to show division. This one has a division sign. This one uses a slash to show division. It's really no different than multiplication. There's multiple ways to show multiplication, no pun intended. And it's just to show you that the questions may look different, but they actually still mean the same thing. So let's get started with today. We're going to go with this guy first. First of all, what we need to understand is what is the concept of division? Division simply means we are taking a number and we are splitting it into as many equal groups as we can. Sometimes we may have a remainder, which is like a decimal. Other times we'll be able to split them very evenly. So what this means is that I'm taking 25 positives. So in this case, I'm going to be drawing out 25 positive chips. And I'm going to be splitting them into negative groups. Okay, that's the important part. So if I read this question, it says 25 split into negative 5 groups. So I'm going to draw that out. And here's a negative group, and here's a negative group, and a negative group, and a negative group, and a negative group. And I'm just going to remember that by putting a little negative sign in it. And what it means is that anything within that group is going to be negative. Okay, the whole group is negative. It's a negative group. So in this case, now that I know that these groups are negative, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 25 and I'm going to split it into 5 groups. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. And even though these are all positive chips that are going in there because this was a positive number, the entire group itself is a negative group. Okay, so I'll put that on the outside so you can see that the whole group is negative. So anything within that group has to be a negative number. And then the answer simply is, if I had 25 split into negative 5 groups, how many is in one group? Well, I know the group is negative, so it's a negative answer. And I've got 5 chips in there. So my answer has to be negative 5. Okay? Let's put a line down the middle. Let's take a look at pink. We're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to be splitting it into groups of this time of negative groups of 2. So immediately what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a group over here and a group over here. I'm going to remind myself that these are negative groups. And then it says I'm taking negative counters and splitting them into negative groups. So I'm going to start splitting this. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and they are all negative counters on the inside. So you'll notice that this one looks a little different than the blue one. These were positive chips. These are negative chips now being split into negative groups. And if you remember anything that we talked about with multiplication of integers, if you didn't see the multiplication of integers video, then I'll throw a card in the top right corner for you to go check it out. Probably a good idea for you to check out the rules of what multiplication and division of integers are. If you remember, we know that negatives will cancel each other out. So if we think about what this question is asking, this question is saying we are getting rid of, subtracting 5 negative chips in each group, or subtracting negative 10 chips out of this. And how do we do that? Well, in order for us to cancel out negative chips, we need to add positive chips. So to cancel out, this means to cancel or to get rid of, I'm going to instead have positive chips. So these become positives instead, and what I've done is I've subtracted these guys, these 10, get rid of 10 chips into negative groups. I've gotten rid of them. They're now gone. Okay, so they have been subtracted. That's what that means. Subtract those groups. And then my answer here is what I have left in a single group. And in this case, I have 5 positive chips, and therefore I have my answer. Might be a little bit confusing when we're looking at it. All you need to remember, and I'll throw this into in yellow, when we are looking at multiplication and division, the rules are the same. If you have a positive divided by a positive, it is going to be a positive number. If you have a negative divided by a positive, it is going to be a negative. If you have a negative, and I'm going to throw it like a slash up here because it looks different, by a positive, it's going to be a negative, and a negative divided by a negative is always going to be a positive, which is what we ended up here. We were subtracting a division in amount of negative groups, and it gave us positive numbers that were left over. So that is the idea behind dividing integers. If you have any questions, by all means, please drop them in below. Be sure to like the video and subscribe so that you can check out any other math concepts that we're talking about in the intermediate end of our virtual learning school. And thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys again soon.